Hey there, students. This is Dr. Bury. It is Monday, September 18th. Welcome to the fourth week of classes. I hope all of you are doing well. We've had a little bit of a tougher day. We had a little bit of a car problem. We had a loose strut that was causing one of our wheels to kind of go wonky, but I was able to get it to the mechanic and get it fixed. But consequently, I've been stuck at home all day, which I guess is not too bad of a place to be. So I hope all of you are doing well and enjoying classes. Hope you've gotten into your groove. And so without further ado, let's see what we've got going online this week. In NT 5103, we are currently working on the theory of the verb. Now, what this means is we're going to take time to read Dr. Wallace's text and then have a quiz on that material. I want to go ahead and let you know right now that the quiz is open book, so don't lose any sleep over that. But the goal is not to memorize all the details, but to get familiar with the material. What we're going to do next, as you can see, is go through several passages of Scripture where we're going to ask you to answer questions with different worksheets, and that will guide you into thinking more carefully about Dr. Wallace's text. So, to that end, keep in mind you don't have to read every jot and tittle of Dr. Wallace's text. I want you to get the scope of the ideas. I want you to learn the main categories. I want you to kind of learn how syntax works. And then what we will do is dive into the particulars and refine that as we get into the worksheets and the study guides that follow. So just so you'll know, take a look at the information on Quiz 1 page. You'll notice that you are allowed to use Dr. Wallace's text, but there are some other things that are on there. It's going to have also vocabulary that occurs 50 times or more, Ricard Luo paradigms, grammar, syntax questions, etc. The vocabulary and paradigms are not open book, but anything having to do with syntax is. So get familiar with Dr. Wallace's text, learn how it works, be familiar with how it's laid out, and then you'll go back to it multiple times as a resource as you finish the rest of the course. Now, in NT 5104, we are currently working on validation. Now, validation is one of these bread and butter activities when it comes to exegesis. Validation essentially is the activity you undertake when you have two differing interpretations that are equally valid and viable, and your job is to gather the evidence and to make a reasonable judgment so that you can determine which one is most likely the case. Now, this will seem a little bit artificial. We're going to ask you to do it in a certain way that forces you to get the evidence out on the table and forces you to be very fair in your handling of the evidence, but that's part of what the learning process will be for you. You don't know what kind of evidence you don't know about, so this will guide you to think more carefully and to dig into that material, and it'll enable you to make more reasonable judgments about the meaning of the text. Because validation is so important, we actually divide it up into 2 weeks. We have 1 week that's going to involve an example. You'll work through this simply as a discussion group, and the instructions are there on what to do. But then you also, next week, will work on the validation paper, and that's a very important assignment. To that end, we're going to have a meeting to discuss that on Thursday, September 28th at 2 p.m., and you can come and ask any questions about validation. You can ask, of course, up to that point, but that'll be when we get ready to turn in the paper, which is a very important assignment because that's sort of a template for how you're going to think through problems and interpretive difficulties within the biblical text. Now, in NT 5110, we are currently working on social and religious history. You'll notice that we have some reading to do as usual. We have some videos to watch as usual. And this week we have a discussion question. So I encourage you to get working on that sooner rather than later so that you will have a chance to interact with your classmates. But other than that, this is a pretty normal week as far as that class is concerned. All right, I hope all of you are doing great. Let me know how I can help you. Don't hesitate to reach out if I can be of assistance. And please know that I'm praying for you. Look forward to seeing you online this week. Take care.